last team from Kenya, which is Team SSURF, and we have Dennis here to do the presentation. Please give him a big hand.
So, good evening. My name is Dennis Gitunga. I'm representing a team that worked on a solution for urban areas, and the solution is referred to as the Smart Sustainable Urban Flood Solutions. So we've commonly experienced urban floods through flooded streets. We also have underground infrastructures that are usually flooded. So this includes basement apartments. You also have parking lots and even the subways as well. And so usually this results from stormwater, so plenty of stormwater inundating in such areas. So we have come up with a solution that tries to analyze the problem in urban areas, particularly where area or space to implement such solutions is scarce. So urban authorities in many of these large cities are adopting smart solutions in the form of the green and blue infrastructure. But there remains one big problem, and that is how do you allocate space when you have all these conflicting interests, for example, construction. So our solution tries to address this problem and is summarized in this illustration here. So the way that we consider this will work is that if we implement smaller solutions that are well distributed over the entire catchment, rather than focusing on one big solution in the flood-prone areas. So our solution works as follows. So initially you identify these existing flood-prone areas. So you can achieve this through either hydrodynamic modeling, but even to get more detailed information, we can also do crowd mapping or even a participatory approach. So the reason why we consider participatory approaches is that in some cases we miss certain areas through these hydrodynamic models. So whenever you have certain hubs or small installments, they will affect the actual flow of water. So the second step is to identify all the stormwater infrastructures, all the existing stormwater infrastructure that will drain water through these flood-prone areas. So next, we include a high-resolution digital elevation model that will help us to define the area on the ground where all this water will accumulate from. So we are dealing with all the catchment area for these stormwater infrastructures that we have already identified in the previous step. So what we do with these sub-catchments is that we analyze their contribution to the actual flooding. So we look at parameters such as the area, we look at the shape, we look at the relief of that place, and then you're able to define whether an area is high velocity, is it high volume, is it high pollutant. So we also include land use and land cover characteristics. So with that, then we have a more objective approach to how we can actually define these solutions. So is our solution helping us to detain water or retain or to slow down the speed of water or even to handle large volumes of water? So in addition to that, we also need to monitor whether these solutions are actually working. So we also have low-cost sensors that are able to sense the water depth and the water velocities at strategic street locations previously. So this can also be defined in the same approach that we defined these sub-catchment areas. But these sensors can also serve a second purpose, and that is to also transmit early warning information whenever there is an actual event. So thank you.
Please give a big hand to Team SSURFS. Yeah, there is time for questions.
Thanks for the presentation. What would be your key ask for your next step? What are you looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So we feel that this solution will work best for urban authorities. And so we are trying to identify urban authorities that will wish to implement such a solution. We are piloting this in a small town in Kenya. But of course, then this will make sense if we are dealing with a much larger area because of the issue of space particularly. So for this, we need to be able now to contact these urban areas, to be able to reach out to them through contacts. So companies such as Rumble will have such contacts and we will be able to reach this.
Fleming?
I'm not at all an expert in this area. Is there a lot of companies already working with similar solutions? All of them? Are there big consulting companies or other companies already working with this kind of solution? Do you know that?
Well, I understand Rumble is implementing such solutions, for example, in Baguio in the Philippines. with low-cost sensors and early warning systems. However, for urban areas, we have not come across many of these solutions. I have not come across any for urban areas in particular. But the good thing about this is that it's adaptable to different regions. It's just the data that keeps changing. Is it an agricultural area? So we are able now to modify based on the data that we have. So we can also offer these services, all of them either individually. But for developed countries, I think they already have much of this data, so it only comes down to the analysis and now where to actually put up these solutions and the sensors. So it's just a simple step for developed countries, but for developing countries, then we are able to even collect all this data, map them, and offer the service, the analysis as well. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the presentation. Thanks for the questions. Please give a big hand to Team SURF.